Leaders like us, and this is called Charlotta Bass, and that is the leader that they are going to illustrate by J.P. Miller, illustrated by Amanda Quarterly. So this is a series of books that talk about African American leaders. A winner either way. Have you ever wanted to change a rule that seemed unfair? Have you worked with others to make a change? Charlotta Bass helped others by fighting for policy changes. She got people in the United States to fix important problems. Charlotta looked over the top of her wire-rimmed glasses into the crowd. There were laws that kept Black people from entering most buildings. But she stood proudly on the convention stage in Chicago, Illinois. She was there to accept the Progressive Party's 1952 nomination for vice president. She could have the second highest office in the United States government. After the convention, Charlotta took her campaign on the road. She enabled Black people to talk about issues in their communities. She spoke about ways to change the rules and help people. When discussing the election, she told people, "Win or lose, we win by raising the issues." And this is a little blurb about political parties. In 1952, voters could join one of three political parties that best fit their beliefs. They were the Democratic, Republican, and Progressive parties. The Progressive Party wanted to end the Korean War and racial discrimination. This section's called Don't Fence Me In. And there's a little map that goes from Rhode Island to Los Angeles, California. Which is weird because Rhode Island's a state and Los Angeles is a city. Anyways, Charlotta was born in 1874 in Sumter, South Carolina. She grew up in the state of Rhode Island. Even when she was young, newspapers were important to Charlotta. After college, she went to work for a local Black newspaper, the Providence Watchman. There, she organized the paper's finances and tripled their ad sales. In 1910, she moved from Rhode Island to Los Angeles, California. Many Black people in the United States were moving west at the time. They were looking for a better life. Together, they built schools, started businesses, and formed communities. Charlotta's newspaper was flying off newsstands. She had been working there when she bought the press for $50 at an auction. She renamed it from the Eagle to the California Eagle. She didn't want her newspaper to be like others. She wanted to write about the good things that women and Black people were doing. She hired Joseph Blackburn Bass as an editor. Charlotta was becoming a leader in business and in journalism. And here's a little blurb about working together. Charlotta married Joseph Bass, and together they grew the California Eagle from 4 pages to 20. They increased printing to 60,000 copies, more than any other African American newspaper on the West Coast of the United States. Charlotta's newspaper was her weapon. She waged war in print against housing discrimination, police brutality, and a lack of jobs for Black people. She wouldn't give up. She wrote articles, printed stories, and listened to people. Charlotta ran for a seat on the Los Angeles City Council. Although she lost, she stayed true to her slogan, "Don't fence me in." People were proud to have her as their leader. Even people who disapproved of what she was doing could not fence her in. Many kinds of bravery. In the 1950s, it was considered unladylike to be outspoken. This was especially true for a Black woman. Charlotta was brave, bold, and brave. She wrote a weekly column on the sidewalk about the lives of people in the Black community. It inspired her readers. The readers trusted her. Charlotta brought the national "Don't Buy Where You Can't Work" movement to Los Angeles. Black people stopped shopping at stores that would not hire them. As a result, these stores made less money. This pressure made white businesses hire black workers. It made some people angry. Charlotta was brave in other ways, too. One night, a hate group called the Ku Klux Klan went to the newspaper office to scare Charlotta, and instead, she scared them away. And these signs say, "Don't buy where you can't work. Full citizenship for all people. Boycott racist employers." African Americans were told that life was better for them in Africa. They were told they should go back home, quote unquote. Charlotta did not agree with the Back to Africa movement. She used her newspaper to deliver the message that Black people were Americans. They were here to stay. Charlotta was courageous on many levels. She was brave and fought against unfair rules. She stood up to hatred. She was brave to run for vice president in 1952. She was the first African American woman to be nominated for vice president. She did what others were afraid to do. The Federal Bureau of Investigation started watching Charlotta. They listened in on her phone calls. They wrote reports about her. They accused her of working against the United States. They tried to block her from publishing things they did not like in her newspaper. Charlotta stopped working for the newspaper in 1951, and in 1952, she ran for vice president with Vincent Hallinan, who wanted to be president. The Progressive Party did not win. However, she never stopped fighting for equal rights. She turned her garage into a community reading room, and during election season, it doubled as a voter registration site. Charlotta wrote a book about her life titled 40 Years, Memoirs from the Pages of a Newspaper. And there's a little blurb that says, "Under watch, the FBI questioned Charlotta. They kept many files on her, and they watched her until her death." Charlotta died in 1969 at the age of 95. She was introduced into the California Hall of Fame in October of 2014 for her work in civil rights. 3 years later, she was also inducted into the California Newspaper Hall of Fame. They honored Charlotta for being the managing editor of the California Eagle from 1912 to 1951. No matter what she did, Charlotta worked hard to make life easier in the future for others. And this is a quote from her. "Here I could sit at the head of the table as a founding member, write my own program, a program for me and my people that came from us." And this is a brief timeline of her life and the things that happened during it. And this is a glossary of some of the terms that we used in today's book. Good night. I love you.